What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with another Palworld video for you all today, and today guys I'll be showcasing to you the 5 best base spots in my opinion. Now these are purely aesthetic. There isn't really too much of a benefit to where you build due to the fact that you can fast travel from your PAL box, so it doesn't really matter too much. The main things you want to look for are flat area really, and then obviously aesthetics. So these are my 5 base areas. Let's jump into it and show you guys what we think. Now coming in at number 5, we are already out here. It is next to the deep bamboo thicket fast travel point. On the map, it is quite a distance away from the starting area, so you would want to set up an initial base and then move out here later at a later stage. And this area is nice and large and flat. There are plenty of PALs in this area, but there is still trees and everything like that. You can build defenses along that cliff face up the top there for incoming raids, and there is an entry point just here. Other than that, there is no other way really for the PALs or the raid enemies to get into this area. So it is a nice flat area and you can build plenty of things here. The area itself is huge, and the only access point for raids, like I mentioned earlier, is this section here, which you can stick gates up to prevent them from coming in across that way. There are metal nodes located just near here that will respawn when you break them, so once you harvest them you can obviously let them rest for a day or so and they will respawn and you can have a close source of ore nearby. Obviously there are stone structures as well nearby that can be broken by your pals for extra stone, but you'll be placing your wood and stone things anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But other than that, it is nice and flat. The scenery is decent. You are quite close to the volcano area as well as the habitat island off there in the distance, so you can get some of these stronger powers from those areas as well. But that's what makes this spot number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Now at number 4, we have this area in the red tree biome, or the autumn biome, whatever you want to call it. It is located just here on the map, so it's much closer than the previous base spot, much more easily accessible as well, but it's got the same sort of aesthetics as the last one. Some stones separated around the base, plenty of building area. The area itself is nice and flat, however, the open area does mean that the raids can come from any direction, so do be aware of that. But in my opinion, this place is just nicer to look at compared to the green trees. The orange trees add a definitive aesthetic, as this is the only area on the map with the red trees, so I feel like it's quite a nice area to build. There is a fast travel point just over here. You also have the desolate church over here where you can apply your capture life monk effigies as well as buff your pals with power souls if you don't have access to the statue yet. And there is also a ton of metal nodes just here, so you can easily harvest up a bunch of metal nodes, come back and you'll have plenty of iron. You can also see there is an iron ore deposit just there as well, and there are a couple of pals floating around in this area. In terms of hostile pals attacking you, not too many really, so you would be relatively safe in this area. Now coming in at number 3, we have the fort ruins. This area here is quite near the starting area. You can see just here on the map there is a fast travel point very close by, and this area is just super cool because you are building in the destroyed fort ruins. Essentially, there is not as much space as there is in some of the other flat areas, but there is still plenty of space for you to be able to build what you need to and get everything in the area. There is, however, a memo page here, so you will have to build around that. There are a couple of stone nodules as well that you can harvest. There are ore nodules as well located around the area, but there are also trees and plenty of pals located around here. And you can always expand with another pal box up here as well if you want to. This area isn't as big as the area down there, and it's also not very flat, so you will have to do some janky sort of movements around here to get through and get everything built up. But I really like the aesthetic of the fort ruins and being able to build inside of a fort. So keep that in mind. You also would have great defense against the raids, being able to stick a wall there, being able to stick a wall there, and being able to reinforce this section here would cause the raid enemies to struggle to get into your base. So mainly the aesthetic behind this one, and that's why it makes it number 3 on the list. Now coming in at number 2, we have the ruined fortress city location. Now this area is pretty much number 3 but on steroids. There are plenty of areas for you to be able to build. It might be a little bit difficult for you to be able to build everything you need with the structures around, but there is still enough space when you look. So you can see this area here, you can chop the trees down and grant more space and build structures over the top. You can build over here. There are heaps of nice flat areas where you are built into the ruins. There's tons. I'd really recommend building over here if you get the opportunity to, because it's a lot of fun. Like, look over here. Like, there's heaps of space for you to build. It would make raids a lot more difficult to get to you, but it just kind of immerses you a lot more into the game when you build into this areas. There's also a big ass wall around everything, so the raid would have to come from one particular direction. I'd really recommend building over here. It just is a really cool aesthetic, and the castle walls and everything like that just make things really cool. You can see over here, nice flat area. There's still plenty of ruins around you. There's a staircase spiral up to the top of this tower so you can get out onto the ramparts if you want to. It's just a really cool area to build. You might struggle a little bit with getting all nodes. Obviously, there is a node up here, but they are sort of scattered throughout this area. But you can, once again, fast travel from your power box, so it kind of does make resource gathering in that particular area redundant. So I would heavily recommend building out here if you want to try and see some different scenery, as well as just be built into the actual map as well. Now, finally, coming into number 1 is my base spot. I'm a sucker for this area. The lavender fields just look really nice with the flowers all throughout it. It is a relatively flat area. I have had a couple of issues trying to build just here, but obviously you can change where you build your base a little bit, and like, it's just a super nice area to build in. You do have this camp that occasionally respawns in, which means free farming from syndicate members, as well as a free pal every now and again. But you can also build over the top of that if you really want to. However, I wouldn't recommend it because the game is in early access, and I'm not entirely sure what will happen to your base once this spawns in. But there is plenty of flat areas around here. Hell, I could have even moved the base a little bit further back, like over here, and given ourselves a little bit more room. I really like this area though. However, there are 2 ore nodes that spawn in this area. There's one just here, as well as one just over here on the corner. Plenty of stone nodes around as well. Plenty of paldium fragment nodes as well. You can see they run down all the beach. Plenty of pals. We get Mamarests spawning in here occasionally, and we're right next to a boss which we can farm for loot to sell. So it makes life really easy, and this is my favorite spot so far on the map that I have found. Purely because I've probably got a connection to it, but I just really like this base spot. So guys, that is going to wrap up the top 5 base spots in Palworld. Let me know what you think of the list down below. Let me know if you found it anywhere else nicer. But on that, guys, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.